I'm 84 years old, and if there's one thing I've learned, it's that the great regrets aren't about the money you didn't earn or the titles you didn't achieve. They're much smaller, much more painful. For me, that singular regret, the one that still burns, is the thing that stole my last 20 years. I wasn't robbed. I gave it away willingly. It was my health. I thought I was untouchable, a brick wall that could withstand any punishment. That youthful arrogance, that absolute certainty that I could abuse my body now and fix it with a pill or a diet later, was the most foolish bargain I ever struck. The cost of that belief? Dependence, pain, and a deep, gut-wrenching shame. Decades ago, health was something boring, the domain of gym rats and people who watched their cholesterol. I worked hard. I put in 60 hours a week running my business, and my reward was fast food and late nights. My philosophy: if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I remember my wife Beatrice trying to get me to go on walks after dinner, and I would scoff. I don't have time for leisure, I'd say. I have to provide. That was the lie. I didn't save time. I spent time. Every missed checkup, every heavy meal, every night of 4 hours sleep was a withdrawal from a bank account that had no interest, only massive penalties. And they came due right on my 64th birthday. The body is a patient messenger. It doesn't scream at first. It whispers. It sends little notes. A sharp pain here, a fatigue that won't lift, heartburn that lasts an hour. I didn't just ignore those notes. I set them on fire. I'd take a handful of antacids and call it a cure. I convinced myself that being tough meant pushing through the pain, that real men didn't complain about aches. That mindset is dangerous, especially when you are in your 40s and 50s. You think that stiffness is just aging, but sometimes that stiffness is your body tightening its ropes, restricting your freedom, prepping the cage you'll live in later. I wish I had known that listening to the whisper is far cheaper than dealing with the inevitable roar. There was one concrete incident. My son Bartholomew was graduating university, a huge milestone. The day before, I felt a sharp, searing pain in my back, a signal I'd been ignoring for weeks. I took a heavy painkiller and insisted I was fine. We drove 5 hours. Halfway through the ceremony, the pain hit me like a train. I had to leave the auditorium and sit in the car, unable to stand up straight. I missed the moment Bartholomew walked across the stage. I still have the blurry picture Beatrice took on her old camera phone. That was the first major family event my health stole from me. It wasn't the last. I was there in body, but completely absent in spirit and function. The true turning point came when the doctor finally looked me in the eye when I was 64. My retirement was just around the corner. We had plans to see the Rockies, to visit Scotland, where Beatrice's family was from. The doctor didn't mince words. "Silas, this damage isn't reversible. You're looking at decades of serious management." It wasn't a sudden illness. It was the accumulated interest on decades of neglect. That moment I wasn't scared of dying. I was terrified of living limited. I realized that my early hard work, which I thought would buy us freedom in retirement, had actually bought us a life sentence of medical appointments and physical restrictions, all because I thought invincible was a lifelong condition. The immediate consequences were swift and devastating. My grandson Chester was 6 when the diagnosis hit. He loved wrestling and being thrown high in the air. That spring he ran up to me ready to play, and I had to tell him, "No, Grandpa can't. Grandpa's tired." Tired became my default setting. The joy of spontaneity evaporated. Every single activity, a walk up a small hill, bending down to tie my shoe, became a strategic calculation of effort versus pain. I watched my peers thrive in their 60s and 70s, taking up hobbies, traveling the globe. I was tethered to medications and a rigid schedule, watching life through a window pane. I didn't just lose mobility, I lost dignity. And that leads me to the deepest wound. The time I stole from Beatrice. We had planned a retirement of adventure. Instead, she became my nurse, my driver, and my constant reminder to take my pills. I promised her forever, but I gave her a chore list. The sadness in her eyes when she lifts something too heavy for me, or when we have to cancel a trip because I'm having a bad day. That's the true measure of my regret. My selfishness in my youth manifested as a crippling burden on the person I loved most in her old age. I wish I could give her back those lost years of freedom, the years she spent worrying about me instead of living joyfully. I see young couples now, full of life, and I want to shake them. Listen to me. Your physical health is not just about you, it's relational wealth. When you neglect yourself, you are signing an agreement that the person who loves you will pay the penalty later. Beatrice didn't complain, not once, but the weight of my poor choices etched lines on her face that weren't there before. We were supposed to be exploring ruins in Greece. Instead, she's navigating the complexities of Medicare forms and ensuring I don't slip in the bathroom. I was meant to protect her well-being, but instead, I compromised it. That is the betrayal that keeps me awake at night. The 20 years I promised in the title. It's simple mathematics. I was vibrant until 64. I am now 84. These last 2 decades have been dominated by managing decline rather than enjoying life. If I had simply taken an hour a day, an hour decades ago, to walk, to eat a salad instead of something fried, to prioritize sleep over one last thing on the to-do list. I estimate I would have 10 to 15 years of truly vital, functional life left. I didn't need to be an Olympian. I just needed to be consistent. Instead, I saved a few hundred hours a year in the moment, and I lost 175,000 hours of freedom in my old age. That is the cruelest exchange. I look at my granddaughter Ophelia now. She's studying something called wellness. She tracks everything. And I see so many young people chasing immediate gratification, thinking they can hack their health. They drink energy drinks. They sacrifice sleep for scrolling. And they assume technology will save them later. I promise you the foundations are built today, not tomorrow. You can't patch a crumbling foundation with a fancy new medical device. Stop looking for the quick fix, because the fix is painfully boring. Consistency, movement, and honoring the machine you were given. Stop viewing your health as a disposable commodity that can be bought back when you're rich enough. The greatest form of wealth is the ability to move without assistance. It is the ability to eat what you love without immediate consequence. It is the capacity to be spontaneous. If you don't fight to preserve that freedom now, you will fight far harder later, and you will lose. The hard work of getting up early to exercise, or making a sensible meal when you're exhausted, that is the investment. That minor discomfort today prevents crushing heartbreak later. My biggest professional lesson was always pay yourself first. My biggest life lesson is the same. Pay your body first, every single day. So here is my plea from 84 years of heavy experience. Don't wait until your knees are shot and your heart is scarred to realize that health is the only real luxury. Go for that walk. Eat that vegetable. Get that sleep. It is so boring, but it is everything. I cannot rewind time, and I cannot give Beatrice back the hiking trips we never took. But you can. You have the power right now to respect the body that carries you. Choose the discipline today, so you don't end up sitting in this chair like me, wealthy in memories but impoverished in mobility, counting the decades that neglect cost you. Please, don't waste your tomorrow.